Let's try out this question called Pineapple Beach Hotel. It says, design principal audit procedures to be used in the audit of the legal claim. 4 marks. In order to design the audit procedures, we have to understand the scenario. Why do we need to do that? Because audit procedures have to be designed according to the individual circumstances of that particular client. A quick reminder of what we just did in ISO 500. It says the auditor shall design and perform audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances. So we've got to read the scenario and understand the circumstance and then design the audit procedures. So let's read the scenario. It says it is 1 July 20x5. That's the date of your exam. The year end was 30th April 20x5. Pineapple's directors received correspondence in March from a group of customers who attended a wedding at the hotel. They have alleged that they suffered severe food poisoning from the food eaten at the hotel and are claiming substantial damages. Pineapple's lawyers have received the claim and believe that the lawsuit against the company is unlikely to be successful. Now, remember ISO 500, we have to take into consideration the circumstances. The only problem now is which part of that scenario do we pick up? So what I've done is that I've created an exam technique to be able to tease out information from the scenario. So let's see what that exam technique is. The exam technique is called DADA. This one is so that you can pick up the relevant information from the scenario. So let's see what each of them stands for. The first D stands for dollar value. So we're going to look at the scenario to see whether there's any dollar value inside there or not. But you can see from the scenario, there is no dollar value that has been provided. Now that does not mean that it is not important. We just have to find out what the dollar value is. That's all. The next one is to find out whether there is an accounting standard or whether there is an audit standard that is relevant. The next one we've got to think about is whether this thing happened during the year. Did it happen during the year? Did it happen during the accounting period? Your accounting year end is 30th April. When did they receive the correspondence? In March. So it was during the year. Now, is this an important piece of information? Why do we need to pick it up? The reason is because if it is during the year, we can actually go and look for the supporting documentation in relation to this legal claim. If it happened last year, then looking at the supporting documentation would be irrelevant. So the fact that something happened during the year means that we can go and have a look at the documents that support this event happening during the year. The last one, the A, is whether there were any assertions that were specified by the examiner in the question. So here it just says audit of the legal claim. They did not say the area of recognition or measurement. They did not say anything. So have any assertions been specified? And the answer to that is no. So let's go through DADA again. Is there any dollar value? No. But we need to find out what the dollar value is. There was a correspondence, right? In March. So during the year, there are some supporting documents here, like the correspondence, for example. Let's have a look at the accounting standard. What accounting standard would be relevant? The accounting standard that would be relevant in this particular case would be ISO 37. So let's just think this through. In IS 37, we need to consider whether the recognition criteria has actually been met. How do you know whether the recognition criteria has been met? What are the things that you're thinking about? One of the things that we'll be thinking about is whether there's an obligation. Does the hotel have an obligation? It looks like there were some customers who were harmed. And if the customers were harmed, it's only right and proper that the hotel takes responsibility for that. The question says that there's been severe food poisoning. Another thing on the area of recognition is to see whether it is probable or not. In order to find out whether it is probable, we have to consult a lawyer. Now, the question tells you that Pineapple's lawyers have received the claim and they believe that the lawsuit against the company is unlikely to be successful. So the lawyers already know about this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to obtain written representations from Pineapple's lawyers. From the scenario, we're not sure whether anything has been put down in writing or not. It just says that the lawyers believe that the lawsuit against the company is unlikely to be successful. So we need to get something down in writing. So we're finished on the area of recognition criteria. Now we want to have a look at the measurement part of things. Measurement is to do with the dollar value aspect. In order to find out what the dollar value is, we could go and have a look at the correspondence from the customers who are bringing a case against the hotel. But another way to find out the dollar value is also by looking at the cash book to see whether any amounts have been paid post year end. Now is 1 July and the incident happened somewhere in March. So we want to see whether in May, June, any amounts was actually paid or not. You've also got to remember that this legal claim, if we're going to make a provision, it is actually an accounting estimate. So we're thinking in terms of the audit standard. What audit standard are we thinking about? We're thinking about ISA 580. What is ISA 580? On written representation. So what we have here is an accounting estimate. And if it is an accounting estimate, we need to get written representation from management to confirm something. All right, so we have sort of got our framework. We have used DADA to see what kind of information from the scenario is important. The last one here, it says assertions. Have they been specified? The answer to that is no, which means that we can use any assertion that we want to. If this is a provision, it will be an account balance. If it is an account balance, we can make use of Care CP. Now, out of Care CP, the ones that are the most important would be on the area of classification and on the area of accuracy. Classification is the same as recognition criteria. Accuracy is the same as measurement. So we've done a little bit of a plan. So now we come to the stage where we want to write out the answer. This is just one of the first lessons on the area of designing audit procedures. So I'm going to take it really very slow. I'm going to use a table to show you how we can actually develop the audit procedure. So all audit procedures, in order for us to get 1 mark, will have to start with a strong procedure, a verb. Then we've got to think about the source of evidence. We're going to think about reliable sources of evidence. And then we've got to put down the objective of the test. Are we okay? So I'm going to tackle the part about the classification, the recognition first. Now, do you remember in our plan, we talked about the customers being harmed? How do you know the customers were harmed? They wrote a letter, right? So we're going to use that first. That is a very strong source of evidence to find out whether the hotel has actually harmed someone. The correspondence from the claimant. So this one is a document, right? Therefore, our first word here, the strong audit procedure, would be the word inspect. Inspect the correspondence from the claimant. Then we've got to think about the objective. Why do we want to do that? The purpose here is to confirm the claim made for food poisoning suffered at the hotel. So being very specific here. In our plan, the second procedure here is to find out whether it is probable. And in this particular question, the lawyers say that it is unlikely to be successful, but we want written representation from the lawyers. So I've started off with the verb obtain. Go and get it from them. What is the source of the evidence? Written representations from Pineapple's lawyers. Why do you want to do that? To confirm their views in writing that the claim is unlikely to be successful. And very, very important, the basis for the claim. Not just a statement from them saying that it's unlikely to be successful. We need to get the basis down as well. So from here, you can see that we've already covered 2 audit procedures under the recognition criteria. So let's go on to the measurement part. So in this particular scenario here, it does not say anything about the amount. The correspondence from the group of customers only said that they have suffered food poisoning and that they are claiming substantial damages, but we've got no idea what the substantial damages are. At this stage, we cannot make a provision for the substantial damages because the lawyers are saying that it is unlikely to be successful. So if it is unlikely to be successful, there will be no provision, right? But then sometimes we don't know whether later on the hotel decided to compensate these people. So we've got to see whether any payments were made post year end. And so from the cash book and the bank statement post year end, we're going to inspect that to confirm the amounts paid to any of the claimants if there was a payment made. Of course, there's also a possibility that no payments were made. If no payments were made post year end, we're going to obtain written representations from management. Now, this written representation from management is different from this one. This one is the expert here. This one is management. And the reason why we need to do that is because it's an accounting estimate. So we're going to get the written representation to confirm management's view that the lawsuit is unlikely to be successful and no provision is required. This is if no payments were made. So that was not very difficult, was it? Now, of course, in the exam, you're not going to do it in a tabular format, but I did it in a tabular format just to show you that we have to start off with a verb, and it has to be a strong procedure, like inspect or review as much as possible. Discussion is oral evidence, and we don't want that. We want to minimize that as much as possible. Then we've got to think of the source of the evidence, and then we need to put down the objective of the test to get that 1 mark. But in the exam, you would be writing it without a table. So what would it look like? It would look like this. So if I was doing this in the exam, I would leave all these headings here so that the marker can see how I have developed my answer. It will be so much easier to mark as well. All right, so let's try out another question.